Hi guys, and welcome to C++ tutorial of how to connect MS Access database. And let me show you guys how this works. In here we have the information of Casey Jonathan. So if we click on here, we can view someone else's details, and that is Alan Parker. Okay, let's assume we want to search. You see, as soon as my mouse is there, what happens is the search information disappears. So let's bring it back. So I'm going to search for invalid data. Record not found. And there's nothing here. So let's assume we have the following details. Click on search, and that is supposed to be Grace Stonehead. One other thing that we can do is we can add new data. Okay, and in here let's add new individual there, and let's assume the name is Tony Montana, and here address, that is 17 Little Venice, postcode, telephone number there. All we then need to do is just to click on this add button. Record saved successfully. Click on OK. There we go. And the full tutorial will be made available shortly. Okay guys, let's exit out and start work with a new tutorial. Click on exit. Yes. And now I'm going to click on create new project. Let's select CLRMT project.net framework. Click on next. Now give that project a name. I'm going to call that CPP access connection. Right there, my CPP MS Access connector is ready. So I'm going to click on the Solution Explorer here, and right in here you see where we have the properties. Click on the properties. So what we're trying to do here now is to create the form itself. And right in this dialog, you must make sure if you're using 64-bit is 64-bit. If it's 32-bit, change it to 32-bit. Since I'm using 64-bit, I'm going to settle for that. I'll come right here where we have configuration properties. You see where we have the linker. Drop it down, select system. Go to the right where we have subsystem, and drop that down, select Windows, subsystem Windows. Come back down to the configuration properties again, go straight to the linker. Right underneath you should be able to see advanced. Click on the advanced, and here we have entry point. Change the entry point and just give it call it main. Type in main in there, then come right down here, click on apply, and then click on OK. There we go. Now the next step is for you to right click on your project name, and let's select add. Click on new item, and inside this very dialog that pops up, you now want to select CLR. Select the CLR, select Windows Form, and the Windows Form, you should be able to see a default name there. If you want, you can change the name, but I intend to keep the default name. I'm going to click on add. Now so you can see I now have a form here called myform.cpp. however, I ended up with an error because the form itself is not generated yet. And for this form to be created, double click on myform.cpp. there. So right here there was supposed to be some lines of code which we don't have. There's a forum where you can get those lines of code. I'm going to take you guys right there. This is the forum where I get the code, and I'll make the link to this very forum available on my description area. So if you come down, though this instruction is for 2017, but it still works with 2022. This is where I am now. I've just double click on myform.cpp right there. So I'm going to copy these lines of codes. These lines of code that I'm copying, we actually create my form for me. So I'm going to close that, paste that lines of code. There will be an error in the first place telling me to change the name of my program. So I'm going to change that to CPPMS access. That is it, and this error should be gone. You see that? And that is it. That's all you need to do. I will now run the program. Click on run, and right there, guys, that is my form. But the unfortunate thing is, if I close this form, you won't be able to see it in the Solution Explorer. So the only way out for us to see it is you close the whole system and reopen it again. Okay, I'm going to close that. There we go. And now I'm going to right click and reopen it again. That is it right there. Click on open. There we go. So if we now go straight to the Solution Explorer, click on the Solution Explorer here. There we go. And that is it. Look at it. myform.h is now there. Double click on it. There, that's the form. Now select the properties of that very form, and I'm going to change the size to something much manageable. So 1150 by 788. That is it. Fine. Now I'm going to add some components to it. Click on the toolbox. I'm going to need panel. Then I need a label. Right. Grab the panel, this label, and take out the label, and this very panel I'm going to drag it that much. Yeah. And this panel, before I do any other thing, let's change the background color first. The main background color of the form, I'm going to change it to cadet blue. There we go. And this I'm going to change back to control. There we go. Now for the label, auto size is false. Then the back color remains the same, and I'm going to come right down. Oh, let's select the label. I wasn't selecting the label. For the label, auto size, instead of true, that should become false. Background color, that's meant to be control. There we go. And the border style, I'm going to, okay, let's change it to fixed single. There, and right underneath here, let's go straight to where the text are. I'm going to change that to CPP MS access database connection. There. One more thing, let's change the font size of it. Oh, before that, I'm going to align it center. The font, I'm going to make that about maybe 40 or 30 something. Let's go for 40. We can always change it back. Bold. There. Now drag that. Bring this down a little bit. There we go. That is taken care of. Now I'm going to copy this. Copy, paste it here, and reduce it that much. Copy again. This is going to be for my buttons. Okay, I'm going to drag this panel. Let's select both and just bring it right down. I think that we do. Let's see what's the. Okay, that's all right. Now let's add buttons here. Click on that grab hold of a button. We have a button here. I'm going to copy this button, paste it right up there. That will be my search button. And I'm going to change the fonts. Let's just change the font first, then we can copy it. Change that to maybe about 36. 36, bold. There. Now I'm going to copy this very one, and let's change this. Just let's say about 7 here, and we change the data in here to, first of all, let me just copy it. I need about 6 of those. Now I have 6. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, this is going to be exit, the last one. Pin this down. btn exit. Come right down, followed by print. My previous tutorial, you guys know how to print, but this is going to be another method that you can use to another print function actually there, and this is going to be known as reset. btn reset. And just for your information, this tutorial is all about learning how to connect Access database to C++. And this is delete. So we change that to the variable name to btn delete. And here we call this update, btn update. Update. And finally this one will become add data. And the name of this will be btn add data. That's it, all done. Now the one right at the top, I'm going to be using that for search. So that's btn search. Change the name to search. Now let's add a text box. Come right here and grab hold of a text box. We're gonna need a couple of those. Bring this one here. Change the details of this to, yeah, let's paste search in there, and let's make that about 30 something as well. There. Okay, for now that's fine. Now we also need to add 6 of those, so we change this to, let's click on this and just stretch it, multi-line, and we're going to change it to about, where's the size? Come to the size. I think that's too much, maybe 48. And this will be maybe 20 something, 28. Okay, bold, 28 bold. I need about 6 of those. Change this, just increase this. So now copy. That's 2 and 6 there. Now we need labels. Come right here, let's grab hold of a label and change this to 28 as well. Bold. There. And the very first label, we change that to maybe student ID, something like that, or it can be employee ID, whatever. But based on the database that we're going to be using, that's what I'm going to call it, student ID. Now let's copy this. It will be for surname, maybe address, postcode, and telephone number there. So change this to first name, surname, and so on. So I'm going to speed that up. Alright, so let's add something here that will say something like DB details, something like that, and just come right down here, change that to DB details. Let's get it underlined. Come right here, select that and underline it. Yeah, I'm going to underline this as well and underline. Let's increase the font size. Okay, let's maybe 36. Okay, then let's see. Yeah, that's not too bad. Alright, so right underneath here, I'm now going to add data grid view. Data grid view. There we go. Just drag it. Dump it right there. Okay, that's good. Now I'm going to just run it so that we see how the whole interface looks like. For now, guys, this is how the whole system is looking. Alright, so let's carry out some more modification, then we can start work with the coding. Drag this up here, change this, the font of that I'm going to change it to something gray. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, very good. Now let's start work with the data connection. You can go straight into Server Explorer here. Inside the Server Explorer, or on the Server Explorer itself, you see right up here, you will see connect to database. Okay, or you go to the tools, select connect to database. But before I do any of those, let me show you the data in right here somewhere. Let's open up where the data is. The data is right here. That is the one I intend to use. Double click on that. It is empty. I call it csave, C++ save, something like that. That is it. It's empty. So I'm going to copy that very data. Right click on it, copy. So I'm going to paste it right inside my project folder here. Paste. There. Close this. And there, that's my database. So I can minimize that. We'll be coming back to that. Alright, that is done. Now let's go for the connections. Server Explorer. Click on connect to DB. There we go. And once you click on connect to DB, what you want, the driver that you want to see, data source must be Microsoft Access Database File OLEDB. If you don't have that, make sure you change it. Click on change and make sure OLEDB is selected. Select this one right up there. Click on OK. Once that is done, you now come here, you see where we have database file name. Click on browse. That's it, and select that. Now the next step is click on advanced. Now this is very important. Inside the advanced, you want to copy this provider's details. The name of the OLEDB provider is to use when connecting to the database. Okay, so copy that name. Right click, copy. You can close this and come right here, get rid of the admin, and you can even try it out. Let's make sure our connection is very good. It's successful. Now click on OK. I have officially copied that directory. Okay, if you forget or leave something out, you can always come back to your Server Explorer, right click on it, select the properties. That will open up this for you, and right here is your connection, so if you copy it there. Alright, now that the connection is copied, let's do this. I'm going to double click on the form. Now before I do any other thing, let's go right up here I'm now going to import the following library. So the library that I want is going to be, if I copy this, I will lose the data that I've copied before, but I'm going to copy and then recopy it again. Okay, so that's using namespace system column data column OLEDB. There we go, that is it, and end that. I now have the OLDB on my system. Now let's go back in here to the design, or I can just select my server explorer, right click here, select the properties, and now want to copy it again because I've already used whatever I have on the clipboard. So copy that there. Now back onto my form, you see right underneath pragma end region, I'm going to declare as follows. So let's say OLEDB connection. You see that right there. I'm able to see that right away because I've already called the library up there. So I'm going to now enter a pointer, and this pointer I'm going to give that a name that the system should point to, and I'll say equals GC, which means garbage collector, and or garbage collect. Now that is going to be new garbage collect OLEDB OLEDB connection, open a bracket with speech mark and paste the directory that I've copied. That is it right there. But if you notice, I have an error, and that is no problem. Okay, the error is at a result of this backspace, so that should be double backspace. So just make sure you enter double backspace in there, and right here enter semicolon. Now I've just linked it up straight onto the system there. If I run my program now, you can see, you'll be able to verify that the database is linked. Now before I do that, let's enter 2 more variables. So the next one variable, I'm going to call that checkers or check. Then I'm also going to call an object. This object is bitmap, okay, to be addressed to be pointing at this that I've just called bitmap there. And right underneath here is the form load. Inside the form load, I want to test to make sure my database is connected to the system. So all I'm just going to do in there is, let's use try cache. Come right down here, enter a cache statement, open up a bracket and enter exception, add pointer to EX. Underneath here, enter curly braces. Inside our curly braces, I'm going to enter message box. This message box I want to use that to generate an error message for me if there's any error at all. Dot message, there we go, and end that. Okay, so if you want, you can put a comma and give your, just add a title there, C++ database connector, or we can say C++ access database connector there. Then comma, another argument, this is going to be message box column, okay, comma, the last argument is going to be message box icon. So the icon I'm going to use that of error, if there's any error, icon column error, there we go. Alright, so up here Now I'm going to call the connect, so connect dot open, enter parentheses, and if this connect opens, if the database opens, I just want a message box that will say something. I'm going to paste that there, and the message will be maybe something like connection successful. So let's change this to connection successful. There, and that's it. So I'm going to try that out now to make sure I am able to connect straight to the database, this very one. So let's do that. Run. There we go. Connection successful. I'm going to click on OK. So as you can see, I've been able to connect straight onto my database. So with that, guys, I want to call it the end of the first part of this tutorial, and I'll see you guys shortly.